The 5 members of the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board face criminal misdemeanor charges in Oklahoma County for allegedly violating the state open meeting law. The charges came as the nation was observing Sunshine Week to highlight government openness and transparency. Meanwhile, a new state-by-state report on legislative transparency has given Oklahoma's legislature a grade of D.
Oklahoma has 2 laws that require openness and transparency for local and state government: open records and open meetings. Certain exemptions limit the reach of those laws, and this year the number of exemptions is growing, especially for open records. The latest state integrity investigation ranks Oklahoma 38th in the nation for openness, with a grade of F for public access to information, the state budgeting process, lobbying disclosure, state pension fund management, and the politically charged redistricting process. Oklahoma got Ds for executive and legislative accountability, civil service management, ethics enforcement, and the Insurance Commission. Grades were better for procurement, the state's only A, for internal auditing, a B-, and Cs for political financing and judicial accountability. State law gives district attorneys the authority to prosecute openness complaints. Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prater charged members of the Pardon and Parole Board with up to 10 counts of willfully violating the Open Meetings Act. He says, in effect, potentially re-victimizing numerous victims by not giving them notice that the board was taking action that qualified the person who victimized them for early release. Prater calls this a classic case of public officials doing what they want to, no matter what the law says.
They knew that was wrong. They had been told by an assistant attorney general several years ago that they couldn't continue to that process, and they did it anyway.
And Prater believes lack of openness prevented the public from knowing about actions he alleges were illegal in the bribery case against former State Representative Randy Terrell and former State Senator Debbie Leftwich.
That uncovered a lot of things that were hidden because of the fact that the legislature is exempted from the Open Meetings, Open Records Act, which is absurd to me.
Oklahoma got an F for public access to information by the state integrity investigation. D.A. Prater says access has been a long-standing problem.
There's a lot of delay in the disclosure of those documents, and sometimes it seems that some agencies and public bodies just would like to set it to the side, hoping that the person that's made that request will forget.
Ziva Brandstetter is president-elect of Freedom of Information Oklahoma and enterprise reporter for the Tulsa World newspaper. She points to an ongoing conflict between the governor's office and media organizations as an example of how attitudes about government transparency can change.
Governor Fallin, when she was running for office, signed a pledge of transparency, signed an openness pledge. I think those things are easy to sign when you're running for office, and then people sometimes change when they get into office. So one of the concerns we've had with Governor Fallin is a new privilege that her general counsel, Steve Mullins, has asserted that is not in state law anywhere, it's not in the Constitution, and he's calling it executive privilege.
The issue arose after media requests for emails the governor received leading up to her decision to turn down millions of dollars in federal funding to expand Medicaid coverage. Another concern of government watchdogs is entities that are created by state government to examine specific issues. The work of task forces can be open, closed in part, or in total. An example is the recent School Security Task Force. Its meetings were held in public, but a key portion of their work was done in secret.
Until you got to the final report, and somehow issues that began in the process that were very important early on in the process disappeared and were not in the final report. The public didn't get to witness the vote. Apparently they had some tea and cookies and they went upstairs and they talked about it, and then this report was decided on.
Attorney Mike Minnis has worked for decades representing the news media on issues involving open meetings and open records. Minnis says the grades the state is getting on openness can be explained by an attitude on the part of some public officials.
I think a lot of people come into office and think that their job is that they're suddenly in charge of everything, and they forget who they're working for. You can pass all laws you want to, but people are still going to be people, and some are going to think it's a great idea and to be open and have the right attitude, and others aren't.
District Attorney Prater says Oklahoma deserves a grade of F for openness, something he says the legislature has the power to change by ending their own exemption to transparency laws.
If you are the body that is responsible for passing laws regarding transparency, and you know that one of those laws will open your process up to the public, are you going to do it? Honest people will.
This session, the legislature is looking at bills that would make more things secret, while at the same time making more things open. An example, bills to make autopsy reports secret and to close off documents in the State Insurance Commissioner's office. On the other side, a bill by State Representative Jason Murphy would create a new appeals process for people who are denied access to public documents. The Tulsa World's Branstetter urges Oklahoma residents to learn about the state's transparency laws. FOIOklahoma.org has the full text of both laws, and she has advice for anyone who runs into problems trying to attend a meeting or find a document.
I always take the basic approach that your records are and your government is open unless there is a specific law closing it, and then I challenge government agencies and government officials to cite that law for me if they're going to withhold records or close meetings. This is the people's information. They paid for it. They deserve to have it unless there's some very compelling reason why they can't have it.
Pardon and parole board members maintain they did not act in secret. Their attorney says they did not break the law. Sunshine Week began with an unusual occurrence in the state Senate when leaders had the gallery and press box cleared to go into a closed executive session. Longtime Capitol observers say it's the first time that has happened in about 30 years. Senate leaders will only say the session was called to discuss issues of Senate tradition and decorum.